When you're looking for more and there's no place to go, it's a sequels only bonus show. It's not about sequels this time, you know, it's a sequels only bonus show. Doug and his pals, well, they know what to do, talking about movies without a part two. Looking for more and there's no place to go, it's a sequels only bonus show. Talking to stars with Doug Ditsold, it's a sequels only bonus show. Sequels only bonus show.
Hey there, Doug here. Happy Monday. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying safe. I know Mondays suck, but I am here to make it a little better. Make it a lot better. Because I care about you, honestly. Especially you. And this week's interview is with actress, performance artist, a stunt person, singer, Misty Rosas. Man, Misty, it was such a blast to talk to because I loved her in so much. She played Amy the gorilla in Congo, and more recently, personally, she's in The Mandalorian. And for my daughter, she plays Sid of Sid the Science Kid. So we talked about her working with the Jim Henson Company, her singing, her dancing, and so much more. This is an action-packed interview. I hope you enjoy it. Without further ado, here is Misty Rosas.
I'm well.
Awesome. Yeah, no video. I don't want to have to subject people have to stare at me for 30 minutes.
Great. No, it's like, oh, I should have asked that sooner. So.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. No, I did a couple of those, and they were cool people to do it with. But it was like kind of awkward, just like staring at the screen the whole time. Not that it was awkward, but I'm sure you've done them before. Even like when I FaceTime with like my mom, like I don't know how to end the phone call or anything. But awesome. Well, thanks so much for taking the time. This would be pretty cool. I haven't talked to anybody that's done like any stunt work or any of that, and you've done it all, singing, stunt. Yeah. So pretty cool. So I like to start in the beginning. So where did you grow up?
Grew up here in Southern California. My dad was the assistant superintendent for Orange County Probation, and that is centered in Orange County, but his job was to help young boys, everyone's under 18, to get on the right track. And so what they would do is send them out to different camps. And so my dad was basically in charge of one of the camps, and we lived up in the mountains up above Lake Elsinore in the Cleveland National Forest. So it was a unique upbringing.
Yeah, that's pretty unique.
Literally in the forest.
So growing up, what point, because you've done so much, was there like a first passion that you had that you wanted to pursue, being in Hollywood?
It's kind of, it's been, I don't know, I guess I would say an unusual journey because music, it's been a part of my life, most of, my whole life, but I didn't, find that, avenue until much later. But my parents, they love music. We listened to music all the time, all of their records, and watched music shows on television. So, and then I literally just about a year or so ago, I discovered through a second cousin that, I have a very famous second cousin named Rick Roses, and he was the bass player for Neil Young, among so many others. And I never met him, but then all of the music in my life kind of makes more sense now. And he sent pictures and showed me my grandpa on my dad's side of the family, and it was all musicians. So that helped to make some sense of all of it and why I've always, since I was a little girl, been drawn to music. So
that is really cool.
Yeah. But really my first, I can't say it was a passion. It was, just, I guess you could call me a very active child. And I was breaking my parents' furniture. I mean, I would always jump on the bed and jump on the couches and hang off of everything. And so they're like, we've got to put her in something. So they took me down, to San Juan Capistrano, and I took my first gymnastics class at 2.5, and I didn't stop for 21 years almost. So yeah, that was my first journey, was gymnastics. And with that came dancing. We would do ballet bar in the morning for what was called our compulsory routines. And obviously there's choreography involved when you watch gymnasts do their floor routine. So dance was, integrated in my life in that way. And then obviously being a gymnast right after I had wrapped on the movie Congo, there were a lot of stuntmen that I worked with and stunt coordinators on that film. So they, kept saying, "Oh, you should do stunts. You've got a gymnastics background. That would be perfect for you." So that's how that kind of shifted for me as well. And that's how I got into stunt work.
Wow. So how did you get into, literally and figures, it's been like playing like Amy and the Gorilla in Congo? How did that come about?
My gymnastics. The producers of the film, as well as Peter Elliott and John Alexander, that were the two artists and actors that hired us as well as trained us for this role. They were doing it's a unique thing to find someone under 5 feet tall that is, that does have longer limbs and is super, super, super strong, as far as your upper body strength. But basically, you've got to be, your whole body needs to be strong to be able to handle that type of work. So my former gymnastics coach that I trained with for most of my life as a junior elite and an elite gymnast, they contacted him, and he knew that I had done some costume work and stuff at Disneyland. And so he, called and said, "I think you should, audition for this job. I don't know what it is, but I think you'd be perfect for it." So, so I went down, and our first audition was very much about movement. They wanted to see your coordination. They did, I believe, if I remember correctly, they brought a couple of pairs of arm extensions to see if you could handle walking quadruped like that. And then, it was movement, and they wanted to see your strength. They wanted you to show some form of how strong you are in your upper body. So I did that.
Wow. Did you watch like a lot of, I'm not saying it wasn't hard to find back then, but did somebody like give you a bunch of VHSs and be able to watch like footage of like the way gorillas moved?
Yes. Once we were all hired, the production, they gave us 3 months to train. And so in the morning, because it was me and then Lorene No, who also, her and I together, played the role of Amy. And then all of my friends that played the gray gorillas. So there was a good 13 of us.
Wow.
Yeah. And so every day, Monday through Friday, we would go to Sony Studios, and the morning part of the session was all training, physical training. There were 2 setups. Like, we had a huge stage where we were training and learning how to move like this. And yes, watching a lot of documentaries on gorillas. So yeah, it was just every day, every morning, we would train and do circuit training on the stage. And then they also had a gym there, and we would go there and train, which my fondest memories, it was at the time we were training at the same time that Tom Hanks was training for Apollo 13. And there's a day that I was running on the treadmill, and, this person jumps onto the treadmill next to me, and he's like, "Hi, how you doing?" And I just I did like a double take, and I was like, "Hi." And it was just so cool. And he was super nice. And it was my first experience with, hanging out right next to someone super famous and just running on the treadmill next to him. It was somewhat surreal.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we did training in the morning and a lot of strength and machines and stuff. And then we would get a break. And then in the afternoon, it was all about acting class. and learning how to walk quadruped and biped and run and all of that for 3 months before we started shooting.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Where was it shot?
First part of it was shot all around Los Angeles, like everywhere. I remember being in Simi Valley and way out in San Bernardino at one of the airports. And then once we finished all of the production shooting here, we went to Costa Rica and shot there for about 3 weeks.
What was it like in that suit? It looks like it's heavy.
Yeah, it is. Very, very hot. It is very heavy. It's not, when people say they want to do this type of work, I'm always like, yeah, definitely try it. But it's not for everybody. It's you have to, the one thing that I do remember, I mean, obviously I remember everything that Peter and John taught me, as well as my friend Michelin Sisti. You have to play a mental game called Not Now, Later. And which is basically, yes, you are uncomfortable, things hurt, you can't, if you get an itch on your head, and sometimes your head, it gets really, really hot, and then you start to sweat, and then everything will calm down, but it's like you can't touch any part of your body, and so you do have to go to a very calm, zen, mental and emotional place called Not Now, Later, and just sit and breathe. So
you weren't able to get out of it for like a full day? It was like there was no like easy exit if you had to get out?
I mean, no. And you learn very quickly to hydrate.
Yeah.
I have a schedule, and I remember it and I'll forget it. And my costumers on The Mandalorian, they're just like, I'm sorry, usually my first day is not great. And they would have to take me out of my costume, and then to get halfway in, and we'd, obviously, like everything, you get halfway in and then it's like, you got to hurry up and wait. And so I'd just be sitting there and I'm just like, I'm sorry. And so it's like, I promise this is the last time. And it's like, I haven't had anything to drink. And, once you get in and you start working and you start to sweat a lot, then you can hydrate again. But it's just it's a balancing act of not getting dehydrated in there. And sometimes in the morning, I wouldn't drink all my drinks early enough. So yeah, there's a lot of things that go along with it.
Yeah. No, I interviewed a guy that was the suit actor for Raphael in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. And he told me it was like the hottest summer, which I'm sure was hot when you're in Costa Rica. But they filmed that out in Oregon, and he was telling me like same kind of thing. He was like overheating, but he just knew that there was nothing he really could do. He just had to like just deal with it. That's really cool that you had that experience. And then from that, and I'm sure with all the people that you worked with that were the other gorillas, from that, just somebody reach out, they say, you know what, we're doing another gorilla movie. So for Instinct, is that what kind of got you a role like that?
Yeah. And it was just, I mean, it's one of the things where I was handed such an incredible opportunity on Congo. Like, those are the dream jobs that, you tend to work for. And it was my first one. So it's not that I took it for granted. I just didn't know anything else. So, and I mean, for me, it's not my natural movement to move like that. So I definitely struggled. I worked so hard. And I really don't feel that I did a good job at what my role was in it, which was a lot of, the stunts and a lot of the physical acting. And Lorene did such a beautiful job as more of the slower, I mean, obviously for her, I think one of the most famous scenes was, the cocktail scene on the airplane. And she did such a great job. I just didn't master that type of movement yet. And so when, and it was tough when it came time to hire everyone for Instinct. The group that we had, which was 12 people, 13 people, was cut in half. And so I think it was me, John, David, there were like 7 of us. So it was just a handful of people that Stan Winston picked. And, I was fortunate enough to be one of them. And it just gave me an opportunity. It's like, okay, I'm going to master this time. And, it was such a brilliant collaborative effort between, the suit performers and everybody. It's now called Legacy Effects, but at the time it was still Stan Winston Studios. And so they brought us in and asked, how can we, improve upon what we did on Congo to help you guys when you're in these suits? And so kind of rearranged where battery packs and servos and everything go, because a lot of stuff was put on our head or the back of our head in Congo. And obviously the note all the time was, can you lift your head? Can you lift your head? And it was just too much weight to try to lift with just your head and your neck muscles. So we were able to shift things like that. And it did. I feel like I'm most proud of that job simply because I was able to finally master something that I was, trying so hard to master on Congo. So, and working with Anthony Hopkins, there's that.
That's awesome. So you mentioned before, so you're doing Congo, aiming the gorilla, and somebody said, hey, you should try doing stunts. What was the first stunt work that you did? Do you remember?
After Congo, one that I do remember just because of the elements of nature. I went to Texas and we did a Rescue 911 episode, and it was tricky. We went out in a boat in a lake, and I doubled this little girl who she was basically drowning. And so they sent me out. And I can remember the boat was kind of far, and or they dropped me down, and there was a scuba diver there with me, kind of helping me, because also they put fake blood in my mouth. And there was a timing thing where, I'm kind of treading and they're like, okay, we're ready. And then, I give the scuba diver below me a signal to say, they're ready. And of course it was hard because you don't realize when you're treading water and trying to hold stuff in your mouth. So you're only breathing through your nose, like, oh my God, this is hard. And so then he had to pull me down, wait, I want to say 5-10 seconds, and then bring me back up. And then at a certain amount of time, I'm supposed to kind of cough up the blood and everything. Cause it was a really dire circumstance for her, but she was fine. But so, that was my first stunt job outside, after Congo. So
it has on here like Sliders, LA Firefighters, and then Jingle All the Way, which is a movie that I grew up watching. What kind of stunts did you do in that?
I was part of the crew that did it was the television series. And so it was the opening credits of that. And I was in the little suit, the space suits, and, we run down and we're going to, get him, and, we go to shoot, and then he punches me, and then everybody falls back. So that's what I did.
Whoa. So Arnold punched you and then you fell back and everybody dominoed?
Actually, I think it was my friend Danny Winans. So so that was cool. I know some of the stunt team did go to Universal and work with Arnold, but I wasn't in that group. We were, what is it called? We were way out off of the 5 or the 14 freeway. It'll probably come to me later, but they do a lot of different, space movies out there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was.
And then you did a couple of Casper movies, one with Steve Guttenberg, which is pretty cool. And then the other one has Terry Garr.
Let's see. I did the first one, and I actually, for that film, I doubled a little old lady who she's walking, through a park or whatever, and then Casper scares her, and she, obviously gets really scared and lifts her walker and turns and runs and does this comic kind of she runs into everything. Like I run into a mailbox thing and I, bounce over that and then do like a cartwheel over the bench and I don't know, like a cartwheel back handspring or something. It was, just like a little long sequence. And then the second film, I doubled Hilary Duff actually in that one. Yeah.
So instead of going through all your credits, is there a time like stunts gotta be, have you ever done a stunt that you were like, wow, this is like kind of hairy?
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, there's been a few times I've been banged up a lot. I broke my finger on a whitewater stunt and it just was not, the stunt itself went okay. I just remember we were all on a raft together. And it was like supposed to be this makeshift raft. So it wasn't even, a real one. And we had to go through and hit this rapid, I think it was a 3 or something. And everybody's facing different directions. So when we hit it, I know I hit my friend, her and I hit heads really pretty hard. And it's like, okay, whatever, it's fine. But then they tried to pull us in and that didn't go well, which, a lot of the raft masters and safety are just like, you shouldn't do that. You should try to just, have them jump off and swim to the side. And they didn't listen. And so they tried to pull us over and our raft started to take on water. And so it was tipping. I was in the middle and I didn't want to fall onto any of my friends. So I tried to hold on as long as I could and wait for everybody to try to get around. And so then, unfortunately, when I jumped in, the raft had totally flipped and I was starting to slide underneath it. And luckily, a friend of mine who stayed on, she saw me and grabbed my coat and pulled me up. And somewhere in that, I broke my finger really bad.
Wow.
So that one was hairy. That wasn't a good moment.
Is it a really tight knit community? Because you work with a lot. Do you like work with a lot of the same people?
I mean, here and there, I tend to, because of my height, it's obviously very unique. I definitely have worked with a lot of the same people, but I mean, stunt people in general, everybody really does a good job of looking out for each other and taking care of one another. And, I always say a little prayer for everybody, before we do anything, because I never want to see anyone get hurt. And, you obviously are put into situations where, yes, something can go wrong. And, oftentimes it does. So, it is. It's a solid community. People in the stunt world, they do take care of each other, which is really nice.
That's awesome. So then from there, I mean, you did more stunt work, but then you get back into I'm sure maybe IMDb is not right, but you played Barry Barrington in the Country Bears?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that actually for me, so I've been doing a lot of suit work, but basically doing that type of work with Stan Winston Studios and Legacy Effects. And actually, John Alexander, who works with Legacy a lot too, he's the one who invited me to come to the audition because it was for the Jim Henson Company, and I'd never done anything for them. So, it was my very first job with the Jim Henson Company, and I mean, it was fun. It's one of those things too where I've been to auditions and I was sure I nailed it and I was going to get the job and I don't get it. And then just remember that audition, I just felt like I had totally blown it. All my friends were in the waiting room, waiting for their audition. They're like, how'd it go? I was like, oh, I'm so not getting this part. Well, good luck. I'll see you later. Bye. But sure enough, I got that role and it was just a great opportunity, a new one, to work with the Henson, company and all of their puppeteers and performers. And that style of suit work was different for me. So it was also, again, a very fast, quick paced learning curve of how to do that technique well. So, it was suit work, but it was a different style. And luckily, my friend Michelin 50, he has been with the Henson Company for a long time. And on Broadway in New York.
Oh, sweet.
And just, yeah, he's brilliant actor and puppeteer. And he took a lot of time, and actually his role was then given to someone else because of the time that he took for me and for my puppeteer Alice in order to help us with our job. And I mean, that's one of the most selfless things I've ever experienced anyone doing. So it was really kind.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Nice you had somebody looking out for you. That's wow.
Yeah, he does. Because then later, the Henson Company was beginning to create what is called Henson Digital Puppetry, their own HDPS system, which is motion capture. And so Brian Henson brought Misha and I in to do a film test for, and it was just, again, a test, but we were Muppet babies. I was Baby Gonzo and he was Baby Kermit.
That's
and he
awesome.
had done a little bit of work before. And again, it was my first time, and it was, I was having, struggling like everybody does when you are put in that volume. And it's like, there's no cameras. They're kind of nowhere and everywhere because they're up above you on a grid. And then learning the physical space that you need to maintain between yourself and the other actor on the, volume floor, in order to accommodate the space for the actual character that's streaming on the screen. So yeah, it's nutty.
I love
it. But again, he helped me out a lot. So
that's cool. I told you in email, like my daughter, she's 15 months now, but we started watching like Sid. And when we were watching it, I go to my wife and I'm like, because I love the Muppets. Like I probably get more excited for I was like put on Sesame Street. And I'm like, this is like really cool to watch this again and not be like questioned by people. But so no, I'm like, when I'm watching Sid, I was like, oh man, that doesn't seem like it's like, that doesn't seem like it's just like normal animation. And then when I watched videos on it, and it was probably one that you were in on YouTube, I'm like, this is so cool. And then I interviewed Bruce Lanoil, who played Dog when the dog was in a few episodes. So yeah, he was pretty cool talking about it. So that was such a cool role. How was like playing that character Sid?
It was amazing. It was, again, one of those moments where I'm really glad that John Alexander and Peter Elliott taught me the technique of not now, later. I remember our first season, the first 2 weeks of season 1, and our days, every single day was, 14 to 16 hours. And I remember calling my mom driving home, and it was like, I don't think I can do this. I'm so tired. And for me, Sid is in every single scene, every single episode. So basically, and when you're a motion capture performer, you don't have a stand-in. So you are on the floor, blocking with camera and the directors, and then it's time to roll, So yeah, you have the opportunity to, you can take that to really get familiar with where you're at in the space. And obviously that's a challenge because nothing is out there with you. So they use, Apple boxes and PVC pipes and different things to give you your space and, to help you get familiar with where you're at. But it's really challenging. What people don't realize is you have to move 3 times bigger and faster and, 3 times farther on the volume floor than what the character is doing. I always laugh because we'll watch things and it just looks like the most fun, easy job in the world. And it is one of the hardest things. It is extremely physical. Like we just did, they just started airing Word Party.
We watched that.
Season 4.
She likes
yeah. Great. And we did a lot of dance numbers for this season. And same thing, when they render the characters, it slows them down a little bit. And the rendering is about adding kind of like, for my character, Lulu, that Dorian Davis puppeteers, she's got like that fuzzy baby panda fur. So all of those things that are part of the rendering process, it slows the character down. I don't understand it because I'm not a tech person, but when I saw season one, I was just like, oh my gosh, okay, I need to amp up my performance on the floor. And then when we're doing choreography, you've got to learn it and you've got to actually be, I would say, one count ahead, because again, the rendering slows you down. And so it looks like, we're dancing, but we're behind the music and we're really not. It just is that whole process. So thinking about all of these extra things and then trying to dance like sharper, bigger, faster. And people are just like, oh my God, didn't realize like how crazy that is on the floor. So, because everybody's just watching the show on the screens and, it's a good show. So, but, and they're like, oh, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do what you do on the floor. It's like, you could. It just takes some time and a lot of physical working out.
So one thing that's on your credits that I thought was pretty cool, and now I know from talking to you, your gymnastics background. So all this time where you're doing all these shows, I'm sure you said you were probably still dancing, but you did choreography. Is it the first time you did that for Dance Baby Dance?
Yeah, that was one of those moments where I will say, everybody listen to your mom. I stopped when I first moved up here. I had a plan, and once I got settled in here, I was going to do stunts and stuff, and then I was going to be part of the Planet of the Apes movie, but then all of the roles, I think, for females were rewritten. And so that was it. And I was like, okay, that's okay. And so I decided I danced at the Edge Performing Arts Center, 2-3 classes a day, every day for a year. And then went to the auditions, and it never occurred to me that my height would be such a factor, and I understand it. I having been on both sides of the camera, I get it. Like I had to laugh because I stopped dancing for a while after that whole thing, and I was not signed with any dance agencies, and they were really kind, and they're just like, you're a great dancer, but you're just so tiny, so we're not going to bring you on. And so even though that was like soul crushing, it was just an important moment to, understand too that what are you doing everything for? So I did stop dancing for a while, and my mom, she asked a few times, she's like, why aren't you dancing anymore? And I said, well, I need to train other things because I thought that would be part of my life and how I would make a living up here too, and it's not. So I just need to work on training as a stunt person. And she said, I think that you should go and just dance because you love it and it's part of what you do. And I didn't listen to her at first, but then like after the third time, I just decided, sure, okay, well, I'll just go to my favorite class, which is my friend Terry Best, her Jazz 3 class. And I just went for me. And then out of nowhere, there's an audition for a dance company, Darden Contemporary Dance. And I submitted, and she said that she wanted to see me. And then I was driving to the audition, and I started laughing because my mom called, and she's like, hey, honey, what are you doing? It's like, well, I'm going to this dance audition, but I'm not sure. I hope she doesn't freak out and think that I'm 5'9" instead of 4'9" and have maybe misread my, resume. And she's like, oh, just go anyway. It's like, oh, I am. And so sure enough, it's a dance company that, if you're a great dancer, she, will hire you.
Oh, wow.
And so, then I got to be part of her company, and I danced in the Nutcracker with her for quite a few years. And then it just happened to be one of those things where at that time I saw this audition post where you needed to make a dance video reel to submit to this film production, Dance Baby Dance. And so I said, why not? It's something that I love to do. And so then Steven Coogan, who wrote it and directed it and acted in it, he's like, yeah. So he brought me on board. And it just was one of those things that, I don't know, it's a momentum thing. And it's not about money or fame or fortune. It's just doing all of the things that you love. And so I'd asked him too, it's like, well, can I, it was up to me to choreograph what I wanted. And then he also allowed me to choreograph to the song that I wrote for my dad. I couldn't be the song with the lyrics. Like my music producers actually had to make me another track, which is just the music score. But it was a really special moment where I got to choreograph something to the song that I wrote for my dad.
Wow.
And my mom got to be in the audience when we shot that. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Oh man! So all this time, are you always singing and doing that on your own?
I train as vocally, wow. And I was supposed to. After everything that's gone down, which I think too, sometimes this whole moment in our lives is good for us to just slow down. But I was originally going to do a show with my bandmate on March 31st, but that's been pushed, and I'm hoping to do a show with them on June 10th. So yeah. Music it's in my blood. It's something to do, but I take it now as my passion project. People can access it anywhere. All my songs and everything and music videos are on YouTube.
Oh, sweet. I'll put all the links to it.
Yeah, it's more about, I hope that my message and all of the lessons and everything that I've been through, I just hope it resonates with people, and then also encourages them to, despite circumstances, don't give up, just keep, if it's something that you're passionate about and you love to doing it, just do it for that reason, and everything else unfolds from there.
No, that's true. So one thing I have to ask you about, because it's another, you get to work with like Jim Henson, and so Star Wars, The Mandalorian, that is like, were you a fan of Star Wars growing up?
Yeah, obviously the second movie, The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, for my younger brothers and I, we were pretty young at that time, but old enough that we knew what was going on and we really wanted to go. Yeah, so I've been a fan from the beginning. It's just, for me, the message, Yoda is my favorite character. I love them all very much, but Yoda, I just always resonated with that character. I don't know, it's just, I understood him and his wisdom. So, I always liked the Jedis, Obi-Wan Kenobi too. I really, really liked him as well.
So you're a little girl, everybody else is like Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, and you're like, man, that Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi, all the Jedis. Maybe that's why, I don't know, like I think I've been a yogi my whole life. So, because I teach it and I practice, I got certified too. I was introduced to yoga in 2002 after the Country Bears. My puppeteer, Alice, she knew my body was pretty beat up and broken, and she's just like, you should come to a yoga class with me. And I really didn't know anything about it, but from my first class, again, it's one of those things that I was hooked. And so I've been practicing since 2002, and then I got certified to teach in 2006. So,
wow, look at that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's just a side thing that I do. It's my karma job. I just like to give something back to people. And I know what it's done for me. And I know what it can do for other people. So, I know people, they're not always excited about trying it and they're scared, and it's just like it's movement, it's just opening your body and just take it slow. So
so it's great. You loved Yoda. That was, Jim Henson.
yes.
To work with his son. That's awesome.
Yeah, Brian's fun. We've done a lot of different jobs together, and he just makes me laugh. So, because he'll be on the floor with me a lot, and I don't know, it's just his demeanor. He'll come up and he, allows me a lot of freedom with some of the characters that he gives to me to help create, and they pitch things a lot. So that's always a fun process, is to step into this other character's shoes and choose and decide, the way they move and all of that. It's always a fun process. So.
Well, that's awesome. Well, Misty, one thing, thank you so much for taking the time. One thing before I let you go, because you've done pretty much everything it seems like you set your mind to. Was there anything way back when that you wanted to do? When you're a kid, sometimes when somebody wants to be a police officer, a firefighter, a doctor. Was there anything that you had before you knew, what you wanted to do?
I would say I've always loved space. I would say being an astronaut, but I don't understand. I'm not great at math when, imaginary numbers were introduced into my math class. That's where I got very lost. And I know you have to understand that in order to be, an astronaut or astrophysicist, any of that. So yeah, I would say an astronaut.
Don't worry. When you're a kid, you don't know what you're going to be. In mine, since we've been on lockdown, me and my wife, we just bought a house last summer, and I was going through like old stuff in the garage, and I had like an elementary school, like 5th grade yearbook. And in there, it said career. And I wrote, I don't know why a teacher let me write this, but it was quarterback at Notre Dame, which you don't get paid for playing quarterback in college. So it's really not a career, but I thought that was really funny. And I didn't even come close to any of that. But this has been awesome. One thing that everybody can learn that listens to this is listen to your mom, because you listen to your mom.
Yes. Listen to your mom, everybody. They, moms they have a wisdom, and they kind of, obviously they've been with you most of your life. So they know you, they know your heart. So listen to your mama. I know sometimes, you want to cringe when you're getting, the mom talk, and I get that too. But there's, they mean well, and they're coming from a good place, from the heart. And yeah, listen to your mom.
Misty, you're awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time. When I get this out there, I'll send it to you. It'll probably be like in a few months, and hopefully everything clears up, which I don't know who really knows. And you could do your show in June. But if not, I'm sure it'll be like whenever in the future, and you can be able to perform.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh, don't worry about it. You're awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
All right. Wasn't Misty awesome? Again, to reiterate and drum it into your head, listen to your mom. Moms are right most of the time. Thank you, Misty. And don't forget to review, rate, share our podcast. Follow us on all social media @SequelsOnly, and check out our website, sequelsonly.com. Good night.